consider the following argument. There are philosophical atoms. 2, those philosophic atoms make up any spatiotemporal reality. Okay, because the spatiotemporal reality would be divided down, and you get to the fundamental building blocks at some point. I'll discuss an objection to that in a minute, but just go with that as premise 2 at the moment. 3, the philosophic atoms change. So the philosophic atoms are the absolute basic building blocks that have no parts, the fundamental pieces of reality. And let's say they change, okay, like moving in location or interacting with other particles and so forth. Point 4, when they change, they flash out of existence. Atom state 1 must fully vanish before atom state 2 exists. So yes, if you've got something that's one thing, has no parts, if it changes, then the first state must completely stop existing for the new state to exist. Okay, it's not like a composite entity which has parts, which you can just have little pieces of it here change and the rest of it persists through time, say. It's a different situation since it's just one thing. Point 5, there can only be a gap between state 1 and state 2 of the atom. You can't have the boundaries of the atoms touch. Of course, the concept of a boundary of a philosophic atom may not make sense, because if they did, then the past state of the atom state 1, would interact with the present state of the atom, so that interaction point would be past and present simultaneously, which is a contradiction. So it has to be a full gap. Atom state 1 ceases to exist. Atom state 2, then after it's fully non-existent, comes into existence. So therefore, point 6, atom state 1 does not cause atom state 2, since they don't touch, interact, contact each other, and so forth. So therefore, atom state 2 is created out of nothing. It's not created by naturalistic means. Premise 8, only God can bring something into existence ex nihilo. Point 9, all philosophic atoms exist ex nihilo. Point 10, at every moment, all of the spatiotemporal reality exists ex nihilo. Point 11, the spatiotemporal, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional physical reality can only exist because of God. Therefore, God exists. Okay, so this argument is only correct if points 1 and 3 are true. In other words, if there really is 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional spatiotemporal reality outside of our consciousness, in other words, something like simulation theory isn't true, and they do in fact make up this spatiotemporal reality, so that would have to be true for this argument to work. And 3, they would have to change. Somebody could come along and say, oh no, they're eternal, uncreated and eternal. That's actually a pretty good objection right there. So that would be, if somebody wanted to object with this argument, that would be a good place to go. But I'm holding that that's not the case for 2 reasons. 1, changes are happening with the basic building blocks of reality, the partless philosophical atoms. Not talking about scientific atoms. Those are a mislabeling that scientists have brought into the scientific arena since the late 1800s, because they thought they discovered the philosophic atoms, the partless basic building blocks of reality, but they didn't. But they started calling them atoms, and it stuck. But then they found out they were actually made of parts. They're composite entities, not partless entities. So anyway, I hold that they change position, they interact with each other, they interact with their minds, as I think the two-slit experiment quantum physics shows. And that leads to the second reason I hold that they change, because this flashing out of existence has been discovered by quantum physics. Okay, so in other words, particles are vanishing and reappearing as new. Here are some quotes from some famous physicists talking about how they observe particles to come in and out of existence. And that's what is being observed. It is believed in the quantum mechanical realm. So anyways, 1 to 3 would have to be true for this argument to work. If it is, this looks like a pretty good argument for the existence of God. I call it the atomic argument for the existence of God.